I get it. It feels good to have an orgasm. It feels good to get there. But it's also not the only angle. You have sex is to connect. You want the intimacy, connection. Just being able to spend a bit of like pleasure time with your partner, right? You feel good as well. So it's about like, you know, the teasing. Teasing is also about building tension. Right?
I see.
So that's why I said the fun and the play and the flirting. You know, you can flirt with your partner. I mean, you've been in a long-term relationship, but you still can flirt with your partner. You don't always want the like fiery hot sex, right? Sometimes you also need the comfortable, soft, sensual, slow sex.
I see.
So it's also about appreciating that the familiarity gets you more of that. You know, and also just the whole familiarity makes you feel a lot safer. At the end of the day, the key thing is mindset, and how you go into the dating scene is something that you're doing very intentional about, and the same way that you approach dating apps. I guess when you are in a better state to take care of yourself, you know your boundaries, then there is better sexual health because you know when to say yes or no to different experiences.
That's true. Welcome back to the podcast that's not afraid to go there. I'm Dr. Chai Ling, and today we're talking about something your school never taught you, your mom definitely didn't bring up, and Google probably got it all wrong. Yes, I'm talking about sex, desire, and power. And before you say, wait, I'm too old for this, stop right there. This episode is for every woman who's ever felt disconnected from her body, silenced in the bedroom, or just plain meh about her own mojo. Joining me is Andrea, certified sex, love, and intimacy coach, and the founder of Athena Rising, who's here to bust myths, melt shame, and remind us that turning yourself on is not selfish. It's essential. So grab your headphones, maybe a glass of wine or green juice if you're being good, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you show up in your own skin. So, Andrea, thank you so much. Welcome for coming. And today we're very excited to have you because we want to know, what is it exactly that you do? What's a relationship and intimacy coach?
Yeah, so I'm a certified sex, love, and relationship coach, and thanks for having me here. Very fun to always talk about areas around love and intimacy. So I work with individuals, with couples, or group workshops around topics of like intimacy, communication, and sometimes sexual wellness or sexual dysfunction.
Yes. I want to ask, is love and intimacy, is that connected? So do you have to have one with the other? Like, can you have intimacy in a one-night stand but no love, or love and not have sex with your long-term partner?
Well, that's a really interesting question because every relationship is very different and there are a lot of complexities. So yes, one can exist without the other, depending on the circumstances. But I find different genders have usually different, and I'm generalizing here, but different genders have different approaches. So for women, they tend to require love or some sort of emotional connection to be able to have better intimacy. Men tend to, in long-term relationships, tend to work through intimacy to understand or express love. It's a slightly different direction. But you know, those are some slight gender differences.
But wouldn't this gender difference cause some problems in relationship? Because it sounds like women needs to love the guy before having proper sex. And the guys will probably have sex first and then feel more loving towards the partner.
Well, I guess in some ways, it's trying not to see it as one-to-one. That means you don't only need to have sex to have love, or the other way around. So intimacy is also all-rounded, right? Like, not just physical, there's emotional, intellectual, mental connection or intimacy. So there are other ways to cultivate those as well. And honestly, love as a feeling, or even a decision or a choice, you know, something that you do for your partner. It's also something that develops through a variety of actions, time, and you know, circumstances. So it's also something that you don't really force. There's actually an element of chemistry in love as well. So I always talk to folks who are also dating as well, not just in relationships. And you know, and this is, again, I generalize, but I see this a lot more with the women clients where they are like, no, you know, with this initial date, you know, it ticks off like 70% of the boxes. But no feeling. But it's okay lah, just try. And they will just
all my friends always say that.
Yeah, because they are worried that if I miss this one, then how? But the truth is, sometimes if let's say you've been dating for a while, few months, and that chemistry, just that one element just doesn't work out. Sometimes it's also that chemistry and fate in that sense.
Right.
So love is a little complex that way,
Yeah.
you know, in that set. And then intimacy is a whole bunch of other stuff with variety of aspects of factors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like for those women who sort of like it takes 70% of boxes, but there's no spark. Is it wrong to continue, or, you know, like, do you look for somebody with spark, or is it okay to settle? Because maybe with all relationships, the spark will eventually die down.
Yeah, I mean, I would say know your deal breakers. So
Okay.
I have something called deal breakers and maybe breakers.
Okay.
Maybe breakers are the stuff that we always say are deal breakers.
Oh,
but actually
okay.
along the way, somehow or another, we are quite okay to vary it a little.
Okay.
But the deal breakers are the one that if you ask yourself, these are 2-3 things. And these are things you don't have to communicate, but you must know at least in yourself, you know, and it could be physical, it could be not, and nobody's judging here, right? Like if you really need a tall partner, and that's deal breaker.
But how would I know if that's a maybe breaker or a deal breaker?
So if let's say you've been dating 3 months, 6 months down the road, and along the way you compromise that particular deal break, that deal breaker, you know, you thought okay maybe can.
Yeah.
And you know you'll get resentful after 6 months, then you know that's a deal breaker.
Okay.
So the truth is there are 2 to 3 things that you can hold just as guidelines, just to give you an indication. Of course, do give each other a chance. You know, it does take time. You know, if you just, especially if it's not someone that was your friend that slowly you become more closer to, it was someone that you totally knew that you met, then maybe take time. You know, it does take time to develop an understanding of the other person.
I see.
And of course, if it, you know, you kind of feel like, okay, it's been too long, it's a few months, and I don't feel excited, or I don't feel like I want to know more about the person, then it's likely something that you might want to move on from.
Yeah. But you know, with most relationships, maybe there was a spark and maybe there were no warning signs, but most relationships actually lose the spark over time. And so what would be a deal breaker if a relationship sort of runs its course, and when do you still keep plugging on and trying? Because, you know, passion doesn't last forever, right?
Well, okay, so I feel like the passion doesn't last forever, but the passion evolves and change. It can evolve and change.
Yeah.
So it also depends on which stage of the relationship you are. So just now what I was talking about is very much dating. But then when you get into the next stage of relationship, you both make a commitment to be exclusive, or then even into like say a marriage.
Yeah.
Right? Those are stages. And when you're at different stages, there are you know, the reason why there are stages is because there's different commitment, right? Like, you know, we want to do this together and we want to build this together.
Okay.
So I guess if you're in a long-term relationship and you kind of feel like, oh, something is different or something has waned, those are the times where you really need to look at whether I do look in with the client, you know, is this something that they both want to work together on? You know, do they both still love each other or feel for the relationship? I mean, at the end of the day, it takes 2 hands to clap. So it does require both to want to make it work. Together.
I see. So who are mainly your clients? People who are dating, or people who are looking to date, or people who are already in long-term relationships that have problems maybe?
Actually, interestingly, I have a mix of both. They're quite half-half. So I have long-term couples in long-term relationships who either having problems around intimacy or have just one better intimacy. And I have a lot of singles who tend to be out of relationships, and just kind of figuring out, is this something that they, you know, they want to work from, they want to get back into the scene. And part of the concern of that, of the past, usually involves some sort of intimacy concern.
I see.
So then I end up working with them. So it tends to be surprisingly 50-50.
And I mean, I'm assuming most are women, or is that not true?
Yeah, most are women. For a variety of reasons. I find that when you're in a relationship, women tend to be the one that want to try to figure out and, you know, try to help and seek help and fix and what's wrong. Also because I work with intimacy and sex. A lot of times for male clients, there's a hesitance, like why will you know me better than me? There's a little bit of that hesitance.
I see.
I guess with the Asian culture also, it's improving, but there's still a little bit of like, men maybe shouldn't ask for help, you know, in certain areas.
And not from a woman anyway, right?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Do you think that maybe all these issues with intimacy is more prevalent because we are in Asian culture?
Actually, I train a lot with Western peer coaches.
Okay.
And I'm still connected to them many years on.
I
find that regardless of like Western or Eastern, there are still a lot of intimacy concerns or issues. Mostly stemming from lack of proper education. from young, and just different stories within the society. So we always say, oh, Asian culture, there's, a certain image or stories around sex. Actually, when it comes to Western culture, also there are different stories that, that they, and beliefs that they create around sex.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is the inability to learn to communicate some of these things. Because only when you communicate, you can figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
But if you don't even learn how to communicate, then that's like most basic issue, right?
That's
and then the other is education from young.
Yeah.
So I find that there's quite a fair bit of it. I think social media and media doesn't quite help these days.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of content out there that I have found that isn't always accurate.
Yeah, I
and
think
it's a bit clickbaity sometimes.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I was just thinking back to whether I got sex education when I was young. I can't remember. Maybe in primary school I had like, I don't know, 10 minutes or what, one period. But most of the sex education I had probably is like watching movies, right? And nothing ever turns out like the movies, because in the movies, everything is right, It's either simultaneous orgasm, and you must have an orgasm, and the guy looks a certain way, the girl looks a certain way, and they all seem to be enjoying sex all the time. So that must put a lot of pressure on women who don't fit that stereotype.
Yes, it does also. It also puts a lot of pressure on men, because they'll be like, how come I can't let my partner look or feel like this?
Yeah.
How come I can't like carry or move my partner in this way when, the scene is this way?
Or some men have the pressure, like a real pressure that they have to last forever and ever.
Yes.
But I wonder if a woman really wants a man to last for hours and hours, it may not be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think sometimes we want the thrill of sex. We want to feel that passion and that fun and that rawness.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing that drives the marriage or the relationship. It's also the connection, the intimacy, and all of that. So I feel like not all the times it has to be the raw power type of sex. Those are fun. And it's nice to sprinkle that throughout. Yeah. So you're right, not every woman wants the man to always have that and last all the time. Yeah.
So, you counsel couples about intimacy. What do you think are the main issues that couples face when it comes to intimacy?
Main issues?
Is it like communication, verb? I mean, I'm just generalizing because I hear there's this like 4 love languages, the touch and everything. I just wonder if, which of these could be surfacing.
Communication is a big one. Okay, I know it's a very like one word or big word. It's a big one because we often don't know how to talk about the issues that are that we feel are there for sex. We don't know how to express it, we don't know how to talk, we don't have the language, or we don't know how to say it. So communication is definitely a big one. And also in our modern society, I find that we have so much things going on, especially in Singapore, work and all that.
Yeah.
This part on communication actually requires some sort of effort. Or, just a little bit of extra attention in that sense. And sometimes we forget because we're busy. So communication is one big thing. But the other is also expectations around sex. Okay. So I find that because we don't communicate and because we have all the different ideas of what it should look like, both people have very different ideas of what sex is like, or what sex should be, or how should it even feel. Many come to me because they think that, okay, as I grow older, I should technically know about sex, or once you are in a relationship you should know, and then they realize no, actually they don't, and then like you said, they go to porn and they don't quite know how come it doesn't quite match with their experience. So then they assume that there's all sorts of issues with them, like, oh, there must be something wrong with me, I must have having this condition, that condition, all these funny conditions. So at the end of the day, I think there's a mixture of all these, and these are some of the things that they come to me often with either the mismatch of expectations or communication.
So when patients come to you, do they come straight to you when they have issues with sex, or just issues with the relationship? Like maybe not doing so well together?
Typically because of the topics and the conversations, the workshops I hold, there will always be a sex or intimacy element.
Okay.
Some do present to me as a relationship issue, saying this is, like we're having some issues with the relationship, or the relationship doesn't have spark. But when I dig in, usually there's some sexual intimacy element.
I see. Yeah. Because I find that they must be very connected, because if you can't speak to your partner or you're angry with him, I can't imagine how you will be able to sleep with him, I think it must carry on over in the bedroom.
Yeah, I mean, it's true that somehow there is connection, but sometimes the issues that they come to me really purely is relationship.
I see.
Then we'll work on that.
Okay.
But like I said, because of my scope, there's always an element of intimacy that's involved. So we might deal with that, we might not. We might deal with what the relationship concern is.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, even sexual issues may not be sexual origin problems. It might be because I had one where the female partner was the one who was, I think she liked the fact that, you know, he would care for her even when he's sick. But she also kind of hated it, like, because you're sick already, go and rest. Stop like asking me how I am and all that. So, you know, this has nothing to do with sex.
Right.
It's nothing to do with how they are in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And as we dug in further, you know, there were some parts where she had to learn how to let go about him, you know, like, if he's sick and he still wants to care for you, you don't go and worry about him. He's, you know, he's a big boy.
Yes.
So there's some parts of mothering that she had to lean back away from.
Yeah.
And I get it, it's a form of concern. It's her way of also being concerned for him. And it's her way of also acknowledging that he is concerned with her, but she was actually very angry at him for doing that. So it was also coming out in a resentment.
Yes.
So these were things that were all mixed with that. And we ended up working a lot on that. But actually the issue when she first came to me was, sex is getting a bit boring. And, you know, like we've lived together for 3 years and sex is getting a bit boring. And I don't know why. And I'm like just losing interest with like life and sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually that was the issue.
Isn't it amazing? Because I find that actually for most relationships, it is transference. Like we are angry with something that's very small and then we transfer it to another issue, you know? Yeah. So but it must be terribly difficult to uncover all this.
I guess when it's one-on-one or one-on-two, that means with a couple, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
But then it takes time. I guess it's not difficult in the sense that there's no set play. But it takes time. And that's when the client must also be patient. Because a lot of times when they come for coaches or to seek help, and I'm sometimes the end of the scale already. That means they've gone to like doctors, you know, they've got like, first they check, is it a medical issue and all that kind of thing.
So you're the last station.
I'm the last station. It's like we try everything already, that's why we come to you kind of thing.
Okay.
So by that time, I still have to remind them, hey, you know, you have to be patient. And you know, they're already in the state where I don't want to be patient because I've tried so many things. So that part is a bit more tricky.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's really just uncovering, you know, what they present. And then from there, when we work, it's actually quite, I mean, it's quite easy, but it takes time.
Okay, so for somebody who has like lost that spark in the bedroom, a couple, are there any tips that you usually give them that can, you know, exercises for them to do that can help them reignite this spark?
If both of them are keen to work on it, you know, then and they just feel like the spark is gone. I always say start with play. Or fun. So you start with play and then you end with sex in that sense. Yeah.
But you know, it's harder than it's, you know, it's definitely not so easy because you already know that person for so many years. Suddenly you want to play. It's like,
so it's about giving them different, I mean, depending on couple, I'll give them different activities to initially first force the play a bit. You know, sometimes we have to just go through the motion a bit. And that's the thing with play, right? And sex also. Sometimes it's a bit of, you know, you try, you do, then it looks very awkward. It looks nothing like the movie and it's just a bit like weird. Like it's not even sexy. Some of the sexy moves that we try. But that's the whole idea about play, right? Like you're not supposed to perform something. Play itself in essence is really about like, I'm just trying to have fun with something and I'm trying to make you happy and laugh and, you know, flirt a little and that's it. So I'll give them like little tasks to do. For some people, you know, maybe certain things they have to do with their partner, like just small stuff they have to do every day.
Right.
Is it certain
Does it have to be in a bedroom or is it like throughout the day?
Throughout the day. So like, you know, maybe for some of them, I find that their partner is always on the go. So, okay, can you do more sex texting? I mean, we didn't say.
Okay, I mean, that's easy. I think that one's doable. Okay.
Safe digital boundaries. You know, send what you send, but just be safe. You know, so maybe some tasks, some will be tasks like that. For some of them, actually, it's purely appreciation. I've noticed a lot of partners, when they get to a certain point, it's very easy to not appreciate your partner. And of course, people will say, no, what, you know, we've been together. Of course, I appreciate them, you know, always giving me my coffee and, you know.
But if you don't say it, the other person may not feel it.
Correct. And, or even you just say thank you. I find that these things are really, really not often communicated. So when I'm in a relationship, I think it was at the 4-year mark, and then I was like, you know, I was like, oh, thank you for opening the door. And he was like, why do you still, I mean, like he appreciated it, but he pointed out, he was like, you still thank me and you still say that. And I was like, of course, because I really appreciate it. And I think while he was just pointing out an action, there is also appreciation from the other party saying, okay, at least you pay attention. Or if I know that, you know, I have a friend where she knows the car is very important to the husband. So when they pick up friends, sometimes they, you know, give them a ride along the way. She'll be like, oh, can you be careful your things, your dirty things put on the floor, don't put on the seat, you know, because he doesn't like it. These are very, very little things. But she does it all the time because she knows it's important to him. And these are the things that couples tend to lose, those who lost the spark tend to forget a little bit about this. So I will give them little exercises to do. And when you're in the mood of appreciating your partner or receiving appreciation, it's a lot easier to get into sex.
Yes,
or
I
when,
agree.
when the time comes, in
Yeah,
that sense.
yeah. Because I think sometimes you get a bit resentful when you do some things and you feel like you're unappreciated, right? Yeah, so it's that. And then are there any other tips in the bedroom that you give to the couples for them to do that can maybe ignite a spark?
Yeah, I mean, for those who are like, if you tell them, oh, just go and, make sure you set a time, like date night, and make sure you have sex, they'll be like,
yeah, that's really tough.
They will set date night and then they'll look at each other and they'll be like, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah.
So I may even do the opposite. I may say, okay, we'll set date night, but this night nobody can climax. Or you cannot end in penetration, for example. You know, like, so when you set certain conditions or restriction, there's almost that excitement and the build up. So create more of a build up of attention. Or the other is to at least ensure that maybe they try different ways of foreplay. Maybe because they've been used to certain ways of foreplay, and I'll give them certain ideas. So those are more technique based that they can try. And then finally, the other is role play. That's always a very fun thing. You don't have to be like super cosplay and dressed up, but it's just really fun. Even talking about role play, where you're like, of course, role play, you don't just jump into it immediately. Sometimes like, maybe you're like having your meal or whatever, and then you're discussing, and then you're like, okay, later you'll be playing this, and then I'll be this, and can we do this scene? And when you're discussing that, it's actually really
so at least
fun.
It's just fun, right? It's actually all about having fun. It doesn't have to be so serious, you know?
So it's very strange. Sex and orgasm is very strange. When you try to get to that goal, you're actually going further away from it. So doing the play and fun is to take you out of your head, because when you're in your head a lot, and women have this a little bit more than men. I mean, men also are in their head sometimes when they have sex, but especially women, when you're in your head with sex, you everything is here, nothing is happening in the body. So you're actually quite disconnected, and then you'll be going through the whole motion, and you'll be like, oh, I don't feel anything, because you're here. You've been thinking about, like, and
how they view the endpoint as orgasm. So you must reach there.
Then if I don't reach there, no good. If I reach there, great. Then okay, after that, no feeling already. Because everything, everything is about thinking. And really what you want to do is to get back into feeling and just allowing your body to enjoy, the contact of, your partner in that sense.
And even if there isn't an orgasm, doesn't mean that you don't enjoy the process, right? It doesn't have to always end in orgasm.
Yes. I mean, and that's the belief that for some couples, they have to take away. I get it. It feels good to have an orgasm. It feels good to get there, but it's also not the only angle. And we ignore, I mean, we have sex. I mean, as long-term couples, you have sex. It's not to get there or to get something done, right? You have sex is to connect. You want the intimacy, connection. Just being able to spend a bit of like pleasure time with your partner, right? And feel good as well. So that's the part that we are going for, which is why I do take orgasm off the table sometimes for some couples.
I think it creates this like a goal for people to reach, and I think that sets the obstacle for them also.
Yes. So the other thing that I've told, recently one couple I've told is that don't go and grade your some of these I'll call practices, because it's like I give you homework and then you go and practice. Then I'll say don't go and grade it. Because there was, I mean, like sometimes even simple things, let's say they were practicing simultaneous masturbation or something like that, for example, right? And then, and I've heard this comment before. They weren't practicing with me, but like I was trying to run through the steps with them. And then I heard the comment, oh, hey, that one not so good. Okay, I give you 6 out of 10. And
that's like, terrible, right?
So I mean, well, it's a little bit of a joke, because maybe they were awkward because they were learning about sex toys from me. So maybe the class was like awkward with the topic. But even then, when that comes out, it just doesn't feel good, and it does nothing. Like it doesn't even have a purpose. So like when they're in the middle of that, don't go and grade it. Don't like great performance yesterday, not so great today. Like like there's no point, literally. And then of course you also use, as like you said, toys and everything to help couples. What sort of toys would you introduce into the bedroom to help relationship? Or do you even have to introduce toys or not? I typically don't introduce toys as the must
first
use.
line,
but a lot of couples are interested to know about toys. Because they feel that maybe sometimes an additional tool doesn't everything have to come from me, that kind of thing, which is great. So these are additional tools that I ask them to look at it's just additional help, especially when you're doing role play. Just having 1 or 2 props kind of helps.
Okay.
And a lot of times different toys really do support different like pleasure senses.
Yeah.
So it's just, a lot of times it's just for them to get more knowledge, be more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at this weird shape thing.
Yeah, and a lot of people are very hesitant, right, to even go and get these toys.
Yeah. I mean, and also some of the toy shapes are a little bit weird. So I get it, right? I mean, because it's meant to mold to the body, and then once they know about it, I think it's more the confidence, because then they'll go, okay, now I know I got this tool, I got these practices, I got these ideas. Okay, then we can go back and try. It's more the confidence than actually you should use this toy versus that toy.
Yeah. You don't have to use it, but just knowing that these are tools should you need them, right?
Yes. Yeah. And for some couples, I think, like I said, busy life and everything, sometimes maybe you will want a app controlled toy, because you know one couple travel or one partner travels a lot. So I mean, you know, no harm, right? These are things that you can work into your relationship. These are little secrets that you don't have to go tell everybody, hey, I bought app control. But these are little things you can have secrets between for your two of you. And that's also something actually quite sweet.
Yeah. But it sounds like, you know, it isn't just couples that have problems that will need you, because I can't imagine a relationship, if it goes past, say, the 5-year mark, that the sex will automatically be so engaging and exciting. But all of us assume that we don't have to work at it, and the passion will still keep flowing. Isn't it true? I mean, it's like exercise, right? You need to maybe, you know, refresh. So maybe everybody needs some refresher on intimacy, you think?
Yeah, I mean, just to inject new ideas. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a practice and a, like you say, exercise, right? So these are things like when you get more tips or just different ideas, you might, you know, have a different experience or a better experience as well. And this is something that as you go along the relationship, so Esther Perel uses this term very well. She
I love Esther Perel.
Yeah, I mean, I super love her work, because she talks about, now she talks about it less, but previously erotic intelligence. So she talks about the tension where you can have a familiarity in a long-term relationship. That is great for creating bonds and connection. But that is also what works against sexual tension, because you want a little bit of that mystery and that tension and the element. So the key to successful relationships is always creating both that connection and sometimes that
How do you create that tension when there's so much familiarity?
Yeah, so it's about like, you know, the teasing. Teasing is also about building tension, right?
I see.
So that's why I said the fun and the play and the flirting. You know, you can flirt with your partner. I mean, you've been in a long-term relationship, but you still can flirt with your partner. Yeah. There's also about having and this is slightly out of the bedroom, individual lives and passions, and you know what you're building for yourselves, right? Because having that allows your partner to also see you sometimes a bit outside your world, and then, you know, go like, wow, you know, my partner is, you know, so immersed and involved in their world, and they see that, and it almost creates that sense of attraction again. Right. But the other is also, I just generally feel that when you are building in a long-term relationship, sex can get routine, and it's true. It's not wrong, because sometimes you also don't want to think, right? Should I use this move now, or should I change this move? Sometimes you really don't want to think, right? And it's not wrong. So if we also understand that sex can get routine, but routine doesn't have to be boring, I think that's something that then we can really work with a relationship. I think we have a lot of ideas. The problem is we have a lot of stories that, oh, you know, it will be boring, and boring is bad, and bad is like, okay, that's it. The deathbed of my sex life already. But it's really like, sex can be routine, and routine doesn't have to be boring or doesn't have to be bad. Routine can be comfortable. You don't always, like I said, you don't always want the like fiery hot sex, right? Sometimes you also need the comfortable, soft, sensual, slow sex. I see. So it's also about appreciating that the familiarity gets you more of that. You know, and also just the whole familiarity makes you feel a lot safer. When you're a lot safer, maybe can express a little bit more desires. And of course, our desires, our thoughts and our perspectives can change. Like, you learn new things. So that doesn't go away just because you've been in a relationship 5 years. So that's something that we need to give space to for relationships.
I see. So I understand you also run workshops for these couples. And what kind of workshops? What do they entail?
So right now, the more popular ones are around pleasure. So for women, it's giving blowjob handjobs.
Do they come as a couple?
No, for the blowjob handjobs, it's only for women. Sometimes the women then come for those ones, and then want to have her orgasms, but for men. So they want their partners to know about receiving orgasms. About how to give them orgasms.
Yes.
I do also actually conduct her orgasms just for women because they need to know how to experience and build up their orgasmic capacity.
Okay.
But surprisingly, the giving him pleasure is a bit more popular in that
That's
sense.
the thing about women. I think most of them think about how they can give their partner pleasure before they actually work on themselves.
Yes, but also because I feel like topics like these aren't also often taught in a very, calm classroom. You know, we are not there to like hold a bachelor. Of course, I do like bachelorette party classes that are more like sex ed classes, and some couples workshops have also a bit of sex ed, like just general sex ed stuff. But those technique workshops tend to be, done in a very it's like you're learning another skill now, like how to cycle and how to, and I think a lot of women appreciate that because you watch porn and you don't really get the right thing.
Yes.
And then they also, you learn from internet, like I said, it's a bit tricky. Yeah. And when you're in the class, like I can actually point out to you, okay, hold it this way.
Yes.
Or they can ask specific questions that they are thinking of.
Yes.
Like, what do I do with my teeth in this instant? Like very specific. And I can kind of explain it with there's no judgment or no malice, right? And I've had people come away from these workshops. There was this lady, I can't tell her age. I mean, Asian women very hard to tell. So could be late 20s, could be early 30s. Very, very put together, very bright and pretty girl. And she was like, I'm finally not afraid to touch or look.
Oh, okay.
And I think that will be very powerful for her. Yeah. Because I mean, if you are going to dating, you're going to relationships, and if you're just so afraid of even like looking or touching your partner's genitals or just being naked, it's very hard to get to the point of sex. Don't even talk about foreplay, right? Just that fear. And can you imagine if she like would ask her friends or I mean, maybe ask her parents. But like, let's say if she has someone talk to her friends, what would be the answers? Like, just try it.
Yeah, just try.
It's okay after. If you love him, you will be okay.
You'll figure it out or something. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, that was a very powerful.
Do you ever have any student that comes to your class, do your blowjob and hand job workshop, and then say, I've been doing it wrong all my life?
But it's not the whole thing, because at the end of the day, if when their partner gives them, I mean, their partner will also respond, right? It's not like their partner just don't do anything. So their partner will respond and sometimes say, hey, do this way and do that way. Okay. So I don't think it's like everything wrong, but I do have some people who say, a particular technique, they realize why it's always causing them pain or aches. A lot of people have when they do slight techniques wrong, and then they'll be like, I've been doing it wrong this way.
I see.
So there have been some of that.
And it sounds like it's not just couples that go, like single ladies actually go for these workshops.
Yes.
Probably because they want to learn how to
be
more equipped when they go into the dating world.
Correct. I mean, and it's not saying that, you are going to be having a lot of sex when you go in dating world. It's nothing like that. It's just that now I know I am a lot more confident in myself. And I just feel like, okay, I got this. And I can go out there and put myself out there. I can go out there and have fun, knowing my boundaries. It's really as simple as that. I've had, for workshops and even for coaching, I've had like those from 20s all the way to 60s. Yeah, it's very fun, especially those are ladies. And they were like, I want to bring my friend. And, I've had those who have divorced, like in the later ages. Or those who are not, but just, I want to have fun now. So I just want to come for some fun class. And I thought that was such a interesting and fun way
very
to
empowering, rather than think of it as something taboo belonging into the bedroom. Nobody talks about it, because I mean, it is part of your sex life.
Yes, I mean, so I hope they had fun, but I mean, they seem to they seem to after the workshop. I felt like everyone took away something. If not a few techniques, at least the understanding that it's not so foreign or weird, or it's not something that you can't even talk about it. Maybe because I talk about the topics over and over in my 1.5 hour workshops. Maybe after that, I think they feel less concerned about even having it in a conversation.
Because it sounds like you also see a lot of single women, and I think now dating in this modern world must be a bit different because it's all online. Do you actually have clients that are single women that come to you for any sorts of issues? So
for dating, yes, I have a whole bunch. Mostly because they have come out of a previous relationship and they are kind of like an in-between phase.
Okay.
So I have quite a few of that. I do work with Bumble as a relationship expert looking at their dating trends.
Oh, okay.
Over the last 2-3 years, they have dating trend reports every year.
Oh, please tell us more about the dating trends. How has it evolved?
Yeah, so I mean, they've looked at it every year, and it's got very interesting because I started sometime, I think, looking at it during COVID.
Okay.
But I mean, they've had their reports for years. And during COVID and slightly after, there was a lot of emergence of wanting to know women, wanting to know more about their own boundaries. They were able to express themselves a lot more. They were looking beyond their usual type. You know, and they were willing to, when they're going on a dating app, go beyond their usual type, and and at least give people a chance and have that conversations. Men were also willing to look beyond standard stereotypes in that sense, at least for stereotypes of men.
Yeah.
But they still find that there was still an in-between where, they still have to be a bit strong and they still have certain stereotypes of men in relationships.
Yeah.
People were looking for less expensive dates. Because it was a lot more, so there was a lot more slant to authenticity.
Okay.
Different interests.
Okay.
Being able to have dates while doing an activity that they're interested in. So there was a lot of that. But behind that, there were a lot more questions around the usual stuff. Because when you're dealing with tech, it's a whole different etiquette altogether.
Yeah.
So ghosting happens a lot.
Yeah.
Zombies happen a lot. So zombies are those who come back after ghosting. So they come back from the dead. So it brings out a whole bunch of different emotions.
Okay.
And then, how long do I stay on a chat?
Okay.
If I swipe wrongly and I miss my chance, will I miss the person that's meant for me? There were a lot of these other unspoken type of emotions that came out, but tends to come out in but the main question they were asked, even though all this was underlying, was, will I ever find someone? Is dating on apps like just a horrible way to do it?
Yeah.
So also there's a lot of stuff around app fatigue that we talked about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the key thing is mindset, and how you go into the dating scene is something that you have to be very intentional about, and the same way that you approach dating apps.
Oh, really?
So that's the stuff that I tend to work with them more on.
I see.
So that they feel a lot more confident or aware and intentional. Because a lot of times people jump into apps is, I try everything already lah, just try this, or like very busy lah, I just use this, but then cannot find anyone, and then you go around this spiral. So mindset and attitude and how you approach dating, if you are meeting someone online, you still need to put certain guidelines and boundaries. So we work on those as well.
So is it better to go into these apps instead of thinking of finding your soulmate, a life partner, to go into it thinking that maybe you just make connection, finding somebody with similar interests, lowering your bar? Would that be a better attitude than to think that I'm going to find Prince Charming on these apps?
Yes and no. So yes, in the sense that you don't assume that you're gonna love at first swipe.
Yeah.
Love at first sight, gonna find that one person, right? So because if you go in with that mindset, you'll get very disappointed every conversation, because you're like, this conversation boring. You won't feel that intensity as when you feel that love of that main partner. So you will feel very bored. But I also say, don't go in with the anything goes. Let's chat and then see how see what happens. Because when you do that, you also end up moving in between conversations and just finding that, I'm just generally having conversations. And some are good, some are not good, and some are like weirdos.
Yes.
So that puts you in a very iffy area. So I tend to say, have an intention. If your intention is to have a long-term relationship, great. But that won't be your intention for the first conversation.
Right. Okay.
So you have a long-term intention, and the app is one of the channel of which you can explore and meet more people.
Okay.
And then, but keep that. It's like how you keep an end goal in mind, but your task to go to the end goal is. You don't
limit yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But when they come to you, besides dating, I'm sure they also have intimacy issues, right? And you say some of them they're out from a previous relationships and they come to you just before they jump into the next relationship. Is it to, I don't know, solve some intimacy issues or hope that they get better at the next relationship?
I mean, sometimes it's because they had bad experiences.
Okay.
So they, in a way, they come to me, it's like, I want to get over my last relationship. But actually, I know it's because, you want to move on.
Okay.
But you want to get past a bit of the bad experience.
Okay.
The other more subtle thing that comes out, I wouldn't say it's a lot of it, but there have been a few cases, is where they actually come out from third-party relationships. So they are either one of the party in that. So I've seen the case. I mean, for some reason, I've seen the case from all angles.
I see. So nobody wins.
Yeah, not the same case, but I mean,
I know you've seen the
three people,
the partner, you've seen the mistress or the third boyfriend, or
So sometimes there is that past experience or baggage in that sense, and it gets mixed a lot with intimacy, so they don't know how to then be vulnerable again in the next point.
Okay.
So it's usually a mixture of past or bad experiences.
So in those cases, is there a lot of counseling involved? It sounds to me like you also have to be a counselor, therapist before you can even move to the actual techniques and all.
Well, no, so coaching already involves a little bit of that talk coaching, and we do dig through some of the issues. I don't do it like counselors because I'm not there to dig right down to your core problem. We're not there to talk about problems or issues. But yes, if there were underlying reasons, we work on that to resolve or to close or to heal certain chapters that you need to allow you to move on. And to also at least understand where their own, that usually coming out that regardless of the reason, right? I mean, it could be like just bad experience. Maybe you had a very bad partner, and you felt like, you weren't treated right or something like that. So even those kind of experiences, there's a lot of guilt, resentment, or shame.
Yes, I'm sure.
So we work on stuff like these, so that they feel apt and ready to decide what they want for their next stage. So it's less on counseling, still more on coaching, but there is some work and resolution in terms of some of the issues that.
So how would you work on somebody who has come out from like a third party relationship and there's obviously a lot of resentment?
Honestly, usually I will first work on guilt because there is quite a fair bit of guilt involved. And the first few times that they come to you, they probably won't even tell you some of the stuff that happens. So I did have clients who don't really tell me that was the issue. They just say I had relationship problem because they don't know whether to trust you. So actually they're really in a state of guilt and lack of trust. And the worst thing that they want is to come to someone else and worry they get judged. So that's something that we really have to resolve. Because the truth is, I'm not here to resolve everything. I mean, I don't create, I don't make decisions for them, and I don't manage what they decide. And I'm not here to say, okay, resolve, or I mean, like, I'm not like some religious priest, right?
Same.
But the thing is, I am not the person in that situation, and knowing that they come out of that, a lot of it is guilt, doesn't help us move forward. So you can still feel sorry, and you still can work on what you need to, your regret and things like that. But first, what we resolve is guilt. Then resentment tends to come out after that.
All right.
If there is.
And that's something that they have to do themselves, and you'll give them exercises for them to get through it.
Yes, those are some things that we work through, and then through the process, I've had a lot of clients, and if we work through that part and that's successful, usually with a lot of clients, what happens is that they also then come out with their own exercise. They will say, "Oh, I think I want to do this." And sometimes I don't even know. I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, why do you want to suddenly go climb a mountain or something?"
But it's very empowering that they even come to you to want to work through that. You know.
So I mean, I think for them, often they don't know what it is. I mean, they know that there were some issues, and they just come to you like, I just need to resolve this because I feel like going nowhere, or I feel like I'm always crying every day, or things like that. But then as they work through it, and I start seeing them come up with their own activities, there was one where she decided to find another job. And then, and I didn't know why. She was very happy and all that. And finally she told me, she said, "Oh, because he's still working in the same company." And these are things that I didn't know, and I don't need to know.
You don't need to know.
But it was then, by then I knew that she was probably at the end of the coaching stretch. It was a pretty short stretch. Where I think she's then empowered to then make her own decisions to move on. With her life.
That's very empowering, actually.
I mean, some mistakes stay with us in that sense. But also we are allowed to move on, or we have to move on. You can't just really stay in one place, and you can't really just let yourself be bound by something. So my purpose is not to say right, wrong, or anything, but just to allow them to move past the stage that they want to.
And I think it's empowering because you're working on the person itself. A lot of times we blame the whole world for everything that happens to us. It's this person's fault, that person's fault. But like you say, you don't need to know everything, but you just need to know that person and how to work through their feelings. How long would it take for a process? Are we talking about weeks, months, years?
Emotional, actually, quite okay, it's a few months.
Okay.
So usually I'll ask them to say, let's work together about 1 to 3 months first.
Okay.
And then we see how that goes.
And there's no medications are involved, right? You don't give medicine. Yeah. So you're just really giving them exercises, and it's just their sheer will to get through these emotions. It's not so easy, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, it's not about like, oh, you know, it's not all mindset, like, okay, I must think positive.
Yeah.
It's also about understanding how their relationship with themselves, you know, how they view relationships.
Yeah.
And in general, how do they handle some of these triggers, or how do they treat if intimacy is the issue, how do they treat intimacy? Yes. But yeah, I mean, like it's usually between 1 to 3 months initially. Okay. Usually from that time, even from the first month, I can tell that actually they just want, they know they want to work on it, but they're not ready. So sometimes I also ask, if you're not ready, then we slow down.
Yeah.
You know, you don't meet me so many times, because if you're not ready, it's you will feel guilty as I go through more with you, and then you're just not getting anywhere. Because I can only do so much, and then it still requires for the person to be able to see, okay, this is the direction I want to go. Yeah. So it also depends on how ready they are. I don't prescribe medication, but I do check if they are on medication. Okay. Because certain types of medication does impact their emotional state, or their ability to because sometimes you can get very intense emotions. Yes. So I need to make sure that they are able to handle that on their own. Yeah. You know, you can either feel really sad or really extreme, like sorrow, for whatever reason. You know, for whatever reason we dig through. So I do double check if they've had long-term medication. Yeah,
oh, I see. So, you know, for women who are empowered to perhaps, you know, become single again and explore their intimacy, are there any aids or tools that we can use to sort of make us sexually powerful?
Well, for sure, if...
or supplements. I mean, guys have Tonka Ali, right?
Yes, some. Yeah. Well, I mean, for women, okay, depends on the age range, because I'm also a menopause advocate, certified menopause advocate, and I look a little bit at that because I've started to see my clients in the perimenopause period.
Lose interest, right?
Yeah. And it's a whole bunch of stuff. And it's not because, perimenopause lose libido. It's not the direct relation, but a lot of estrogen movements affects the psychological and the neurological mood, right? Yeah. So I tend to also look at their lifestyle. Okay. So for women who are just trying to get back into like the sexy groove, I always ask them lifestyle stuff like sleep enough or not. Yeah. That one very standard. So less on supplements, more on the lifestyle. Okay. But the other is also can they incorporate certain small little things? Because I know, again, women are very busy, you know, with family and work and all that. Can they incorporate little elements through their daily routine to bring back a lot more sense of touch or senses? Okay. You know, how to activate senses. So when we want to get back into sexuality and that groove, it's very good to start with senses because it's very easy. You can access your 5 senses easily. And when you are sensually activated, it's a lot easier to feel. You know, when I say feel the pleasure, or you know, get into the mood, get into the sensual, then bring it down to sexual mood. Yeah. People can understand when their senses are a lot more awake. And often women who have been so busy and just so shut off and just, you know, everything and very numb, the senses are the ones that get shut off. Okay. So things like even trying new food, taking out yourself on a date where you like, you know, maybe for you it's like visual is a thing. Okay, then go to new places like museums and all that and try to see things from a different angle. Yeah.
That's actually very helpful. I think a lot of us never try new food or even see new places because for a long time.
You've been so routine.
Yeah, right? Like in the morning we have one coffee, afternoon we eat the same food, and we go to the same places. Oh, that's quite amazing.
Yeah, take yourself on a date. So if you're trying a new food, like
even music, I don't think I've listened to new music. I just keep playing the same, you know? Yeah. So you actually tell them to consciously try new things.
Yeah, so I'll be like, week one, this sense. I mean, sometimes I really have to structure it. Week one,
I get it. Yeah.
The other one is touch. So like even just stuff when you put on your moisturizer, can you go a bit slower? Can you take your time? Or when you shower, can you imagine it's like, you know, like the goddess in the waterfall.
But that's amazing because it's something that we can do ourselves. I always thought somebody has to do it for us. But, you know, if you rely on somebody else to touch you and tell you you're beautiful, I don't know, it may or may not happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, that will be like an added bonus or a great way for a relationship to develop. Yeah. But it's also something essential that we need to know because...
I love that.
And we definitely can do it because we take care of other people very well. Yeah. So it's just about tuning in for ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are very good tips. So those are something that, especially for these group of women, that's what they can do, right? And any aids that people use to, I mean, one of the problems for perimenopausal women is really dryness. So there are creams that they can apply, but on top of that, they also worry about laxity, not having as much sensation, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I do work with something called Jade, and so but women who generate with Kegel balls can also do similar.
Are these
stuff.
the same as Kegel balls?
Yes. Wait, let me just.
Because for my patients, I don't really know too much, but I tell them that they can benefit from Kegel exercises where really it's just contraction, relaxation, contraction. So it's something they do at home, but sometimes they cannot really feel a difference because you're just doing the contraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are jade eggs.
Okay.
So you can,
I touch them?
yeah, because they are new. So okay. So I always get that even with sample sex toys. They're like, can we touch?
And these are like standard sizes?
These are what we call the average size. There's usually three sizes: larger, medium, small. These are what I say most average size you can use. So unless you have extreme laxity, very major issue with incontinence, and therefore then you take the bigger size and then slowly work to the middle.
And what do I do with this egg?
So this one, there's 2 holes, and you put like you can put a dental floss in it because then you can pull it out later after.
Because if you don't have the dental floss, you may lose it, right?
I mean, you won't find the cervix will stop it, but it's a whole problem.
Okay.
And
so
then
you need to put a string or dental floss so that you can remove it. So you insert it.
And then you insert it. So you insert it into the vagina.
Okay.
And then basically what happens is this works similar to Kegel balls as well when it's inserted, because the vagina muscles will then kind of work to hold on to it. When something comes in, there's almost it's a very, you don't really feel it. It's very subtle, but it will work to hold. So that's when the muscle is already starting to activate.
Yeah.
And basically, what we want to do is really just activate muscles.
Yes.
We do yoga and all that, face yoga. So
you do that.
everybody
I
do that. Right? But then internal yoga, nobody does, because it's also muscle.
And the muscles also become lax, because I was just telling my patients, actually your facial muscles also become lax.
Yeah. So actually 2 things. It either becomes lax or tense. So the cervix is actually quite tense if you don't massage it. And tense muscles. So when we go to the gym, we do a lot of exercise.
Yeah.
Basically, you are working your muscle in different directions.
Yes.
You can't work your muscle this way. I can stretch it and hold a weight. It doesn't work the muscle.
Yeah, you just different. You need to move it. You're saying, okay.
Correct. So when you have stiff muscle and I try and hit it, it's very pain. Imagine if the vagina.
So you're saying the cervix is tense but not muscular, as in tense as in like stiffened, right?
So and if the whole vagina, the muscles are not being worked, you're talking about tense muscles. I mean, okay, so the pelvic area is what creates the laxity, but you're creating that sort of muscles, and then later you want to have sex and all that. And
is that where pain is?
And then you feel like, pain, this one pain, or I don't feel the pleasure. Because when you have orgasms, your muscles are moving this way, right? And if your muscles are stiff, how do you feel that orgasm? It's going to be very mild movement. So you're like, I don't feel it, I just don't want sex, and things like that. Yeah. So the whole idea is about massaging. So this or Kegel balls generally helps with at least minimally activating the muscles. Okay. If they want, they can then bring in a few of the breath work and the Kegel movements to activate and to kind of practice squeezing at different points. Okay. And then the other is also that where if they use I usually work with women with a glass dildo to show them where, and then because the glass dildo is longer.
Why glass though? Wouldn't it be dangerous?
Those glass dildos are made precisely for internal insertion, so it's fine. Okay. But glass, because it can get to the cervix. Oh, okay. To massage the cervix. Okay. Some people are like, I don't want to insert all this. Can I just not use anything? Right. Sure, you can technically use your finger. Yeah. But fingers can only get.
But the point is to have something so that your cervix can sort of tighten around something, so that you can feel, right? Yeah. Because it's like, here I don't feel anything. I'm just holding this,
Yeah, but now you're holding. But if you insert into the vagina, a bit like when you insert menstrual cup, it will actually kind of, there's almost an activation because it tries to hold it in.
I see. Yeah. There's a natural contraction around it.
Yeah, but it's very, very subtle. So it's not like you were that you were squeezed. Okay. So, but it's always nice to work it with some activation. Basically, whatever you're doing is just trying to work the muscles. Yeah. And for some people, they don't want any insertions. They just want to use their hands. It's okay, but it gets you probably up to half the cervical or the vagina canal.
I see.
And then you can do even because when you massage your hand, it's the same concept. Okay. And you can go around 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. block.
Okay.
In the vagina canal. That's just to kind of, like I said, like
relax. Activate and relax.
Relax the muscles, massage the muscles. And those are very helpful for general health of the pelvic area, for the vagina canal.
Okay.
And basically we found that it's supported a lot from an orgasmic quality.
So women who do it actually improve their orgasm quality.
Yes. Yeah. Along with, of course, prevention of incontinence, being able to support that. When it comes to natural lubrication, I mean, a lot of these are also tied to estrogen. So there is that link. But when you activate your muscles and your muscles are, how would I say, a lot more healthier and activated, you find that there are less issues also overall with the
more
experience.
Natural lubrication. Yeah. So this isn't something just women do if they're incontinent or after pregnancy. It's something that women should actually use, you think, for general sexual health?
Yeah. And general muscular health part of the pelvic region.
But you'll be amazed. I don't think any of my friends ever use this or talk about exercising. In fact, a lot of them don't even do Kegels.
Yeah, so maybe not Jade, but like I think more and more women are knowing about Kegel balls and curious and understanding. Yeah. It's just that it's a bit like
but the concept is the same. The Kegel balls and this
quite
one.
Similar, yeah.
Okay.
Quite similar. Yeah, it's just a different material, so it works differently. And for these, for both of them, people sometimes also add weights, so you actually can train the strength of the muscle further. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I was just chatting with another couple because the wife was very interested in the Kegel balls. Yes. Because it was a sex toy workshop for a sex toy brand. And the husband was like, oh, I don't really think you need it. And then but she was very interested, so she asked me a lot of questions. Yeah. And eventually she did get it. Because at the end of the day, I feel like whether or not you have had a kid, I think it's almost like essential for, I had hoped it would be essential for every woman, like through some sort of sex ed and things like that. Because this is just something that you can use to take care of yourself. I mean, for me, I didn't quite understand. You work everything, but you are told to ignore a lot of your area. Or worse still, like maybe after you hit a certain age, since you're not going to use your uterus, it's, like fine, let's leave it one side. But that's not true because it's a whole body experience.
In fact, I feel a bit silly even asking you because like I do yoga twice a week and I'm asking you, how often do we work this? And I'm thinking like once a year. But it can't be like that, right? If it's part of our organ, then it has to be something regular. Something regular, but nobody talks about it. And even, in fact, Kegel balls is also not that common.
Or even Kegel exercises. Kegel exercises only brought in, actually Kegel exercises only, the squeezing only deals with the pelvic floor. It doesn't even deal with the whole pelvic region. Right. Of which, like all the muscles are there. It's just the floor. But even that only gets brought in after the woman delivers. And then she's like, oh, I'm having a bit of like issue. And then they're like, just practice Kegel. And
and nobody actually even tells you whether you're doing it correctly or not. But it should be something done for normal health.
So I mean, it doesn't have to be done like every day. I know everybody's busy. You want to incorporate, like how your workouts are maybe 1 or 2 times a week. Maybe incorporate it 1 or 2 times a week in your session. You don't even need a Jade or a Kegel ball if you don't have it, but just an awareness that, there has to be some sort of I guess muscle activation, or taking care of your whole body in that sense.
What kind of benefits do your clients say they experience when they start doing something with the Jade eggs or Kegel balls?
Typically, it's the whole orgasmic experience. And I don't mean just at the orgasm stage. It's also the ability to, like, when I bring in different pleasure exercises and I give them, they feel like they can sense the pleasure a bit better. Okay. They can feel like that build up in their body a little bit better. And I think that then helps when they are, in the bedroom, when they are like with foreplay with their partner and things like that.
I think that's great. It's something that women can do. Is there anything else besides these Jade eggs?
To activate their...
For women to improve their sexual health.
I mean, there's times we bring in sexual health, I will always say get informed through the proper channels. I mean, I put content on social media as well, as much as I get allowed to and not shadow ban. But I would say you also have to be discerning. But, we are now holding more and more like sex positive workshops, and I have a lot of private workshop options where different people can get together with their girlfriends and like organize one. And just more information is always a little bit better, just to equip yourself so you can ask questions and you can understand better. But in general, it's also understanding your boundaries, understanding what you need to know to take care of yourself. I guess when you are in a better state to take care of yourself, you know your boundaries. then there is better sexual health because you know when to say yes or no to different experiences.
That's
as well.
true. Yeah. And how about men? Are there similar aids for men to, I don't know, do they have to do anything to exercise their sexual organ?
Well, for men, because their sexual organ, at least the main one is external, right? So they do have, they are also given Kegel exercises by some physiotherapists to support their pelvic area as well, because that then generally, enhances blood flow goes to the penis and things like that. But for men, it's slightly different. They don't have these kind of internal practices.
So you work with women more than men, right?
Yeah, for this is anyway a women's item, and yes, generally I do work with women a lot more than men.
Okay, so if there's the last thing you can leave women so that they can feel more empowered in the bedroom, something simple that they can do, what will it be?
Have a self-pleasure ritual I say every week, and some people are like, oh, it's too much. But have a self-pleasure ritual, and you set your timing, but make it regular, because it's almost like, like if you have your facial, your massage every month, for example, okay, let's say it's once a month, you get excited when you go back to it because you're pampering and taking care of yourself. Same thing for self-pleasure ritual. Can be 15-20 minutes, just time that you lock the bedroom, and it's either you can do self-pleasure for self-masturbation, or you can just do self-pleasure to just feel good, so it doesn't have to be sexual.
With no endpoint in mind, right?
Correct.
As long as something that makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's just a lot of sensual touch. It's just a lot of like loving yourself in that sense, and make it a ritual, like a regular thing.
Okay, I think that's wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, deep breaths, full hearts, and maybe slightly flushed cheeks. That was what no one tells women about sex, desire, and power, but should. Huge thank you to Andrea for reminding us that pleasure isn't a luxury, it's a life force. If today's episode stirred something in you, emotionally or otherwise, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with every woman who deserves to feel turned on, tuned in, and totally powerful. Drop your thoughts for confessions in the comments. We want to hear it all. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your desire is not too much. You were just taught to shrink it.